In 1840, the whaling ship Hope was navigating the Drake Channel near Antarctica when the crew spotted something drifting among the icebergs. It was a small schooner called the Jenny, floating slowly in the dark with zero signs of life. The captain of the Hope ordered a boarding party to investigate. According to the accounts, they found the entire crew frozen solid, standing right where they had died like icy statues. Below deck, the captain was sitting rigidly at his desk, still holding a pen over a logbook detailing how they had survived 71 days without food. When a ship turns up entirely empty or vanishes completely, human psychology struggles to accept the lack of information. We rush to fill the vacuum. We blame sea monsters, violent mutinies, or curses in the Bermuda Triangle to explain how a massive vessel and its crew could simply cease to exist. But if you look for the historical records of the Jenny, you won't find them. The ship never existed. A team at Cambridge University traced the entire chilling legend back to a fictional story published in a 19th-century German magazine called Globus. Supernatural folklore provides an easy answer to terrifying mysteries. The actual historical records show that when a ship becomes a floating graveyard, the culprit is usually a tiny, overlooked mechanical flaw colliding with the brutal physics of the ocean. To see how this happens in reality, we have to look at the Mary Celeste. Found adrift in the Atlantic in 1872, it remains the most thoroughly documented ghost ship in maritime history. When sailors from a passing ship boarded her, the evidence they found was entirely contradictory. The ship was in excellent condition, the crew's valuables were sitting right in their cabins, and the 6-month supply of food and water was completely untouched. But all 10 people on board, along with a single wooden lifeboat, were gone. Rumors immediately spread. Some claimed a giant squid pulled the crew into the deep, though the immaculate hull showed no signs of a struggle. Others accused the captain who found the ship of murdering the crew to claim maritime salvage money. That theory fell apart when the court investigation actually damaged his career and reputation, proving he gained little from the discovery. Modern maritime investigators have pieced together a different sequence of events, a mechanical cascade. It started with the ship's previous manifest, a cargo of coal. This diagram illustrates a standard wooden hulls pumping system. As the ship hit a moderate storm, residual coal dust from that previous trip likely washed down into the lower hold and clogged the ship's mechanical water pumps. The pumps failed right as water started entering the ship. You can see here how the cargo layout created a massive blind spot. The Mary Celeste was carrying hundreds of large barrels of industrial alcohol. These barrels physically blocked Captain Benjamin Briggs from seeing the bottom of the hold. He knew the pumps were broken, but he had absolutely no way to measure how fast the water was rising. To make matters worse, the final entry in the ship's logbook noted a faulty chronometer, a crucial navigational device used to determine a ship's longitude. Briggs was flying blind mechanically and geographically. Unable to pump water, unable to see the flooding, and unable to calculate his distance to shore, he ordered everyone into the fragile lifeboat, where they eventually drowned in the storm. The Mary Celeste didn't fall victim to a curse. It was abandoned because a layer of coal dust and a broken clock created a perfect storm of mechanical blindness, pushing an experienced captain into a fatal panic. While some vessels are found completely empty, others leave absolutely nothing behind. They disappear from the surface of the water in a matter of minutes. This includes massive, steel-plated freighters that were engineered to be unsinkable. Ships like the Western Reserve, lost in 1892, or the 729-foot SS Edmund Fitzgerald, which vanished entirely from radar in 1975. Both of these massive structures were annihilated in the Great Lakes. To understand how a steel ship can simply evaporate, forensic engineers look to a catastrophic structural failure known as hogging. It happens when a heavy vessel encounters a wave pattern its hull was never designed to absorb. This diagram demonstrates the exact mechanics of hogging. As the ship rides up over a single giant wave, the peak supports the very center of the vessel, but the heavy bow and the stern are left hanging directly over empty air, with no water underneath to provide buoyancy. Gravity pulls down on the heavy, unsupported ends. This places an immense, concentrated amount of pressure squarely on the middle of the hull. Unable to support its own weight, thousands of tons of steel violently bends and then snaps in half like a twig. This specific type of structural failure is incredibly common on the Great Lakes due to a unique meteorological collision. During the autumn months, the still warm summer water of the lakes collides with freezing cold air pushing down from Canada, generating hurricane-force winds and massive steep wave patterns. Because these lakes consist of fresh water, they freeze significantly faster than the salt water of the open ocean. As those massive waves crash over the deck, the water instantly freezes, rapidly encasing the ships in tons of top-heavy ice. This destroys the vessel's center of gravity and heavily alters its buoyancy. We call them lakes, but they act like deadly inland seas. The combination of steep waves, rapid freezing, and massive temperature shifts creates an environment capable of physically tearing apart the strongest human engineering. For over a century, the fate of the Western Reserve was a mystery. But in 2024, explorers using side-scan sonar, a technology that uses sound waves to map the seafloor, finally located the wreck resting under the cold waters of Lake Superior. The sonar data provided the exact cause of death. The 300-foot steel ship was found snapped perfectly in two, with one half lying on top of the other. The image confirmed the brutal, physical reality of hogging. As forensic engineering and historical research improve, we are systematically draining the supernatural elements from maritime history. We don't have to rely on ghost stories when we can map the broken steel and ruined timber directly. We fill the empty ocean with myths because the reality is much harder to accept. A clogged pump valve, a poorly forged steel plate, or a sudden temperature drop. That thin margin of error is all it takes to turn a marvel of human engineering into a ghost story.